So I've watched the recent state of play, and it was bad. Particularly, Sony doesn't have any games. And don't go into defensive mode. I'm not saying it to offend you if you're a fan of Sony or you own a PlayStation. Literally everybody will benefit if Sony will have games, because eventually they go onto PC so everybody can play them. So I'm not your enemy, don't go into defensive mode. But we have to talk about it because first and foremost, to fix a problem we have to identify the problem. So, what is the problem? As I said, Sony doesn't have games. And I mean big games. I'm talking about the caliber of games like The Last of Us, Uncharted, God of War, Spider-Man and the likes of them. What I mean is that I started watching State of Play. And it started quite slow, so I launched Cyberpunk 2077 and had State of Play on my phone. The funny part is that I don't have YouTube Premium. And the State of Play was so bad that at one point I got confused because I didn't know what I'm watching. Was it a YouTube ad for a mobile game or State of Play of Sony? Spoiler alert, it was a YouTube ad. And the funny part is that in 2019, Sony was the first major publisher that left E3. They were like, we'll have our own E3 with Blackjack and Hooters. And in the end, that is what we've got. They left E3 and they've got no games for their State of Play. And I'm not mocking them. You know, it is hard to develop cool games, especially when you've got no money, because you wasted all of them to develop Concord, particularly $400 million. Okay, maybe I'm mocking them a little, but I think it is deserved, okay? Because that was kinda inexcusable. By the way, I've made a cool video about who is to blame for bad games, so check it out if you want to know more about Concord and flops like that. And in general, subscribe to the channel for more cool videos and leave a like to this one. And you may say, well, actually there were some cool games at the State of Play. Silent Hill F, a new James Bond game, Metal Gear Remake, Pragmata, the game with a kid. So you may say that it wasn't so bad. But those games are actually not Sony games. They all come to PC on the same day as on PlayStation. They just were on the State of Play as third-party games. Yes, Sony has 2 exclusives scheduled for this year, Ghost of Yotei and Death Stranding 2. But what comes after? Intergalactic: The Heretic Prophet? Yet another game like The Last of Us Part 2 that will split the community on people who like the game and people who hate it? That isn't great. A Wolverine game that maybe will be good? Though we don't even know when those games will be released. What I'm getting at is that Sony is indeed out of games. Right from the start of PlayStation 5 release, Sony didn't have a lot of games. Yes, we had a good year with Sony, starting with Stellar Blade and finishing with Ghost of Yotei. But after that, we seem to return to that dead-in-water state, with no games in sight. And that's bad. Honestly, Sony is #1 console only because Xbox doesn't do exclusives. And I'm grateful that they don't. But it is not the point. The point is that Sony stopped trying. Xbox is not competing with them, so they got relaxed and comfortable. And that's bad. For PlayStation owners first and foremost, but also bad for PC gamers. The point that I'm trying to make is that gamers have to be straightforward with Sony and express their dissatisfaction. Not to cuddle Sony because you own a PlayStation. It is not in your best interest. You are not a shareholder, so stop acting as one. Sony has to do better, and they can. And we know that because they were doing better. And that's it for today. Stop cuddling Sony, subscribe to my channel, leave a like to this video, and check out my other videos. See you later.